That's the amount of scrutiny this went through. And even when it came to the main cabinet, with the president sitting in there, the concern had been comfort, and convenience. And so I can assure you of, I understand, and this deals with Dixon's question about PTSD as well, that, I mean, if you come from an abusive marriage, and you finally find yourself out of it, and you meet a new man, no matter how loving he is, the day he says, you think he's about to do something to you. So coming from where we've come from, and I've said this to the team at the NCA, this registration is 75% communication, 25% technology. Like 75% of our work will be communication. I've seen people say, and let me just say that people have said, oh, but Sam George from Stubborn Academy and said they won't register. And now Sam says we should do a registration. Sam is not sticking to his word. Unfortunately, that's not what it is. I'm actually sticking to my word. Go back and take the press conferences I did as deputy ranking member and the media engagements I had. The critical thing I complained about, for which reason I said the registration in 2021 to 2023 should not have happened, was the lack of biometric verification. The lack of things that we are doing today, the use of OTPs, ensuring that SIMs for foreigners are churned after 90 days. So basically what I'm doing today is walking the talk that we spoke in opposition. So we're looking to fix all of those problems, and I believe strongly in my heart that this is going to be the very final SIM registration exercise that we are doing. And mind you, I keep saying, this is not a SIM re-registration. It is a SIM registration. And re-registration means you're re-registering something that already exists. You're building on something that already exists. That's not what we're doing. The systems are completely different. And so, is there a third-party role to be played? Yes. There's going to be a service provider for the NCA and the NIA. That's going to work with the MNOs to build the platform. However, the platform is going to be owned by the NCA. So the data that's going to be generated throughout this registration belongs to the NCA and the state. They are going to be custodians of it. The service provider is only going to provide the technical platform that's going to be used to carry out the self-registration and all the registrations that we've spoken about. What's the cost to this? At the moment, the specific cost for a registration of a SIM card has not been finalized. The ministry has an idea what the pricing should be because we're working with NIA, we're working with a number of institutions, but as part of our stakeholder approach, the MNOs have raised issues relative to the cost model that we have proposed, and so there are engagements happening between the regulator and the stakeholders who are the MNOs, because like I said, whatever cost is going to be borne by the MNOs, they will bear a large chunk of it. The NCA will carry some of the cost relative to public sensitization. Those things come at cost. If the NCA is supposed to run a campaign on public sensitization to register, there is a cost to it. So that is going to be borne by the NCA. But when it comes to the cost of registering the SIM, doing the real-time verifications with the NIA and all of that, that will be borne by the MNOs. We will agree on a final amount or number, and I don't want to put out any numbers now, but we have an idea what the numbers are, but that will be agreed on in consultation with the MNOs, and then we'll roll it out. The existing SIM register, anyway, it
is hosted at the National Data Center.
It is the National Data Center holds it, but like I said, that register, and I think that I'll use this to answer a question that may come up. If it doesn't come up, all the better, I will respond anyway. It's a question I've had. Why are you asking all of us to register again if you have some of the data? And DG spoke about 40 million SIMs that were registered previously. Why don't you just identify, you did a sample verification, 81.1% passed. So why don't you just migrate those 81.1%, the 1.3 million out of you did 2.3,
yeah.
you did like 2.3 million tests,
yeah.
and 1.8 passed. So why don't you just migrate the 1.8 and ask the rest to just go and do the registration again? The reason why you can't do that is two-pronged. First, you saw the system, the example of, I don't want to say fake Ghana cards, because one may be real, one may be legitimate. But you saw the duplicate Ghana card that was shown. In the system today, part of that 81.1% that has passed the first phase could be could have been done with fraudulently acquired Ghana cards, which are not legitimate. So what you will then do, if you just do a wholesale migration, is that you're migrating the flaws of the old system into a new system and claiming that you're cleaning up. You're not cleaning up. You're actually migrating the viruses. You have infected files and you are migrating them onto a new system. You are basically replicating the problems of the old system. And that's part of the reason why we can't do a wholesale migration. And that's cured today by NIA's solution that they are offering to us based on the collaboration we're having with them, which is the liveliness test. So, because you see, I could take your Ghana card and enter the details. In the old system, I could actually take a photo. I could register on the old system with a photo of your card, and the system will accept it. Now, with this new system, you can't use a photo of the card. You need to do a real liveliness test of the individual himself for the facial contours to be picked and matched against their database. And that's why the NIA, outside of even this registration, has issued a warning that institutions like banks should stop photocopying the Ghana cards of individuals, because that whole process now defeats the technology that the NIA has employed or has deployed for verification. And so, Dixon, I want to believe I've touched on the PTSD part. We will continue to work, and I'm sure that, you see, I keep saying that with these processes, because people still remember the pain that they went through barely 2-3 years ago, and the difficulties that we faced, it is legitimate. It's understand. I would have been shocked if people did not raise a question. It's legitimate for people to be concerned and worried and say, is Sam George going to take us through what we went through under his predecessor? That is a legitimate question to ask. But you see, the sweetness of the pudding will be in his eating. When we roll out the process and people realize that they don't need to go and queue, they can sit in the comfort of their home with their own smartphone, pick their Ghana card, do the liveliness test, and register. They get a text message registering and identifying their primary number. They have a second number, they try to register that, it sends an OTP to their primary number, they verify on the second number, and it's registered. The CEIR is populated, and all of this is done in the comfort of their homes. You would realize that the public perception will begin to shift. Because now people are not being asked to go to a telco shop or go to an agent to go and do the registration. So I think that it's fine for people to raise the complaints. It's those complaints that we have considered and built the platform that we have built today. When we roll it out, working with you as stakeholders, and I'm sure that before you leave here today, we'll share a standard FAQ with you. The team have developed an FAQ so that all the various questions, even if you forget what I have said here, you'll have it written that we'll share with you as media persons. The FAQs will help guide the process, and I'm sure that when we start this process, hopefully, and I'm very confident it will start this year. When we start it this year and people begin to register, I'm sure that the fear and concern will drop. And then when people see the steps that we've taken, and again, let's be clear, part of the challenges people had in the last registration was a lot of people didn't have Ghana cards. At the time, you had just about 60% of the country having Ghana cards. Now you have about what, 90%? Yeah. About 90%, almost 90% have the Ghana cards. At that time, there were only 7 centers in the whole country for you to get a Ghana card. So a lot of the fights that people had was at NIA centers to get cards. Now you have 294 centers, and now you have 90% of the country that have the cards. Again, we are integrating NIA registration teams in our mobile teams that are going to go out. So it's a one-stop shop. Apart from that, we're looking to use Ghana Post facilities across the entire country. And I dare say there's no agency that has the kind of footprint Ghana Post has. In rural communities, there's a post office. We're also looking to use our CICs, where we're rolling out the 1 million coders in a few months as well. So there are multiple layers for people to walk in their own comfort and get registered. Like I keep saying, the president is clear. It is the president's pressure I have transferred to the Director General. Comfort, and convenience. So it's either both comfort and convenience. I'm sure all of them can call them Connie. So, and then the last one on eSIMs. eSIMs are a critical part of this entire process. In fact, one of the networks has over 5 million registered devices on their network that are eSIM enabled. However, they have just about 1 million of those devices using eSIMs. Part of what this process will do for us is we will push a lot more people to do eSIMs. Because you see, today, if you are doing an eSIM registration, it's almost self-service. You are able to do your eSIM registration self-service. So if we move a lot more people onto eSIMs as well, and that's something we're going to try and push with this registration, you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone, or is it 2 stones with 1 bird? Whichever way, there's a killing and there are 2 and there's 1. But you're basically solving a multiplicity of problems. And so eSIMs are a critical part of what it is. If you are an eSIM user, already you've submitted some data, but you just do the verification using the liveliness test against the NIA, and then we're good to go. I think I've answered this first set of questions. So we'll take the next batch.
Another round of questions. Yes.